But first, we're going to start with the Micah Parsons holdout and his contract situation with the Dallas Cowboys. Andrew, kicks off.
Yeah, so obviously, if you've watched any sort of ESPN or just any sort of talk sports show for the last like 3-4 weeks, maybe even longer than that, it's a bit all about Micah Parsons for a good reason. He is one of the best pass rushers that we've seen in the NFL in the recent years, and obviously just one of the best defensive players we have in the league right now. And he wants a big contract, and so does everybody else in the league, right? But I think that he's deserving of it, and I think that this situation has almost gotten blown out of proportion, especially by the media at this point. I think this contract gets done, and I think it gets done within the coming like days almost, just because the season's starting soon. I don't think that Jerry's going to want this to kind of reverberate into the season. He got it done with Dak, even though there was months of conversation around that too. And I think this is a similar situation where there's a holdout, there's a possible in this situation actually a trade request, and it just feels like the honoring of trade requests in the NFL is so much more. It just doesn't mean as much as in like other leagues like the NBA. Like if you request a trade in the NBA, you're almost surely never going to play a game for that team again. But like just this offseason, we saw Trey Hendrickson request a trade. We saw Terry McLaurin just recently get paid and request a trade. So I feel like this will be one of those situations where the person that requests a trade just has another step in like a bargaining tool. And we see Mike Parsons return to the Cowboys this season.
Yeah, I definitely don't really see him holding out well into the season at all. Jerry Jones has been known to do this type of thing whenever it comes down to the wire. He wants to get a deal done. The Cowboys are his precious baby, and I don't think that there's any sort of scenario where he doesn't have the best players out there on the field whenever it comes down to money. I know that there's been in the past some situations going back all the way to the 90s, right, where some of the main guys were trying to get paid with Jerry, but he's not as stingy, I feel like, as maybe like the Bengals or any of the front offices that have that kind of reputation. I certainly think that they'll be able to come out to some sort of an agreement. And also, this comes down right to just the fifth-year option that is on his rookie contract. It's just all about having a long-term deal. I don't think either side wanted to do a franchise tag kind of deal. Or for the future like that. They don't want that to be the solution. So I think they'll be able to come to a long-term contract. You mentioned the Dak Prescott deal. Like Dak Prescott's getting paid a ton of money. So Jerry Jones has shown that he's willing to pay these players premium dollars.
Yeah, and that situation went on for like about the same amount of time, if not longer. And Dak Prescott is still the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He makes $60 million a year. So although it might take a little bit of theatrics, which is what Jerry Jones is kind of known for, it feels like these deals do get done. And in the situation of Dak Prescott, he was playing maybe top 10, more like top 15 quarterback, like premium dollars. This is like possibly the best pass rusher in the league. So I don't see a deal where, especially like the main like trade options, like if we just want to go over them really quickly, like Green Bay is one of the solutions that like a lot of people floated out there. I feel like a lot of them are more on the NFC side, and I just don't feel like Jerry Jones is going to be willing to shell out like the best player on his team to another NFC opponent.
Yeah, I don't really see that either, especially specifically the Packers. I know a lot of people have been talking about them, as you mentioned, but you look across the aisle, then what teams can actually afford Micah Parsons in the sense where if you're going to potentially acquire him, I don't think it would be a 1-year rental. I think it would be more like a Khalil Mack situation where you end up paying him. So then is it the Bills? Is it the Ravens? I mean, I don't think that either of those teams have enough cap room for that sort of situation. But I also think it's kind of funny that everybody suggests those teams, and I think a lot of people would think that they maybe potentially are better than the Chiefs this upcoming year, like just depending on who you ask. But those teams is immediately where my mind goes, but I don't know if they can afford them.
Yeah, I think the Green Bay Packers situation is floated out there most commonly because they do have $30 million in cap space going into the season. So not only could they pay to keep him on, obviously his rookie contract for this season, but then going into the future, they'd have plenty of space to sign him to a long-term deal, which would make the most sense. And obviously Green Bay, like Mike Parsons is just one of the best players in the NFL. So having that on the defensive side of the ball and just adding that to what looks to be like a true contender with Jordan Love and just the guys that they have on the offensive side of the ball in Green Bay, and obviously making the playoffs each of the last 2 years, and not last year, but the year before actually making a they won a game in the playoffs. So I think that adding him to that roster just makes sense, especially with the cap room also like working out. But New England was another place that was floated out there. I just like reviewing scoring like other places. I don't think that really works, just because I don't think New England's going to be very good this year. I think Micah actually wants to play winning football, but they also had the second worst pass rush in the league last year, so making that would like make sense for New England, just maybe not like as much for Micah.